Well, 2 years in the making, and now my Yami Mikumo, is how you pronounce it, Mikumo, is now complete. I lost the drive to build her 2 years ago. Why I did, I have no idea. But I finally got the drive back, and it took another 2 months after that. But she is now fully complete for the most part. Well, actually, not for the most part, she is. With that said, I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to do this done video, so please bear with me in my inability to properly speak. I may need to do some hard cuts when wind comes by because I want to make sure she doesn't fall over. Normally I don't have to worry too much about these figures falling over, but when it comes to this one, she has wings on there and they act like a big old sail. So if a big enough gust comes over, I gotta grab her real quick so she doesn't fall over. So with that said, might as well show what she generally looks like. Again, this is my version of Mikumo, and she came off really fine. One thing you definitely know right out of the bat is I rebuilt the stand for her at least once. And on top of that, when I was initially building the stand, I did not have this little weight when I was building it. It just miraculously enough, when I was building out this stand, this little box here fits that weight perfectly. With that said, that's only a 3-pound weight. And that little weight is all that's necessary to make her to stop from falling over. Though technically she doesn't need the weight. The only reason why I added there is because it's just for my sanity and whatnot, because I want to make sure she does not fall over. Good grief, I cannot speak. Give me a sec. Due to the unique pose that she has, she actually wants to fall over like this constantly. Hence why the stand looks so weird. There's a bunch of reinforcement at the front right here, and there's not really much in the back because, again, she's wanting to fall forward this way. Hence the stand and whatnot. And of course, it's just due to the pose I used for her. If I knew that the pose was going to be this way, I would have gone for something maybe a little bit more different. But I like the pose, and generally speaking, she came out just fine. With that said, hopefully you're not able to hear the wind, but it is blowing a little bit from time to time. I am actually happy I waited 2 years to actually finish this one off, because when I was initially building her, the wing right here was actually supposed to be attached to her head. And at the time I was like, how in the hell am I going to connect this wing and not just have it just rip off the head or just become a massive weight to make it to where she's practically unstable? Well, thankfully they revised my Mikumo and moved the wings from the head to the back. Her voice actor, June, I believe is how you pronounce her name. I have no idea, so please forgive me. She actually posted a picture on her Twitter a little while back of the revised version of Yami Mikumo, and the wing was at the back now. So when it comes to the wing itself, I'll actually show that photo in a little bit, but for right now I'm outside, so you won't be able to really see it. But when it comes to the wing, give me a sec. Now, even though they revised the wing and they moved it down to the back, I still need to figure out a way to actually attach the wings to the bodies where she still has the proper look. Now, I would like to more easily clean this area off, but unfortunately, I really can't do that. Because let's be honest, most people when they view her, they're going to be viewing her from the front. So yes, the back may look a little ugly, but it's more of ease of use and just more easier to maintain. So when it comes to the wings, to the wing attachment itself, it's actually attached to this wooden dowel right here I got from my local hardware store. Lengthened up a little bit with this little PVC pipe, and I have this little bracket right here. You can actually see how I have a little stopper here and a little stopper here that keeps the wing at the general area I want it, and the wing just basically slides onto this thing right here. I'll show how it actually works inside, but it basically slides onto this. And when it comes to actually attaching this wooden dowel to the actual back of her, there's 2 rare earth magnets I embedded in the back of her when I was initially building her 2 years ago. I think I was basically planning for the exact same for this particular instance, but again, it's been 2 years. So there are 2 rare earth magnets placed in back here, and then there's a plate with 2 rare earth magnets embedded into that links to that locks to those 2 rare earth magnets, making a nice secure connection while still making it to where I want to be able to transport her and whatnot. I can still easily do that. And that's how it's basically attached. I can probably actually remove the wing right now. Yeah, there we go. So there you can actually see the plate itself. There are the 2 rare earth magnets, and that's more or less what's making the connection. And when it comes to attaching the wings, I don't know if I can do this one-handed, but I gotta slide it in like this, and it has to be slot in at an angle. And I'm still trying to learn exactly that angle I need to slot it in, but when I slot it in properly, it just more or less locks like that. And the reason why I have the wings so where they can be removable is, well, these wings are a pain in the butt. They're big, they're heavy, even though they're pretty much hollow. They're fairly heavy, and I need to be able to easily transport her around. So having her to break apart like all my other figurines is what I tend to do. So give me another sec. I'll show some of the parts of where she breaks or kind of where she breaks, but I'll do the more proper tear down inside because the grass is still a little wet and whatnot. So with that said, her ponytail pops off. There's a rare earth magnet inside, embedded in her ponytail and embedded in this little cave right there I attach into her head. I'll explain how I did that in a little while. Let's see. These hands, they actually break here. You can see this one breaks here. And this one breaks here, and she's about to fall in me. Of course, when I'm trying to explain everything, a big gust of wind comes through trying to knock her over, but you can also see how she breaks basically right here. And when it comes to the hands, they're just small little rare earth magnets embedded on both sides or both plates of the hands, and that's how the hands attach. When it comes to these little ring pieces or these little, I don't know what they actually do in the movie because I haven't watched it, and I'm not going to watch it because I know what happens to Freya, but I'm guessing these are some form of weapons, just like these things on here. But when it comes to these, they're just hot glued in, and surprisingly enough, when it came to the model for her, the little ring right there actually isn't actually added in the model itself. I had to go and separately make that little ring right there, but it was fairly easy to do. I just had to find a fairly good image that actually had the ring placement, and then I kind of just cut the size, and I got the little I guess fingernail weapons. Again, I have no idea what these do in the movie, and like I said, I'm not going to watch it, but I got those also built also. Now the wind's finally calmed down, so I can put that back into place. And also on top of those areas splitting, she actually splits right at this little seam right here. And of course, like I said, that's because I want to have it to where they can be, where I can easily take her to and from my conventions and whatnot. So with that said, you may be wondering why am I actually outside instead of in my room and whatnot. Well, or inside. It's because I want to have better lighting. I want to be able to easily show off this figure without having garbage LED lighting. I have natural sunlight. I just gotta worry about the wind blowing her over, and hopefully the wind's not overpowering my voice because I am just using an iPhone. As much as I like building these things, I don't have the money for a very nice DSLR. And let's be honest, my YouTube channel only has like what, 2,000, 4,000 people subbed, and even then, most of these videos only get like 100 views max. So I don't see the point of spending $1,000 on a nice high-end camera when my YouTube channel is still, let's be quite honest with ourselves, very small. Maybe you probably noticed this little plank right here. The reason why that plank is there is just adds the extra bit of surface area so she doesn't fall over. When it comes to actually being like inside and whatnot, on carpeting, linoleum and whatnot, she's perfectly stable as is. But of course, out here in the grass and whatnot, there is not enough surface area, and also the grass is still a little wet, so adding that gives enough surface area while also keeping her above the grass itself, making sure the actual stand itself stays nice and dry and doesn't get warped by, well, wet grass. So since I'm more or less done with, I guess, the main portion of the done video, I'll go inside for the second half of this video, which will probably take like, I don't know, another 5-10 minutes, I don't know. Forgive all the noises and whatnot, because I'm now in the kitchen. Unfortunately, all the appliances are making their noise when I want to record the next part of the video. But if that said, the main reason why I wanted to bring her into the house and whatnot is so I can show the current set of my Macross characters and also have their heights in perspective, I believe is what the term is. And so far, it kind of looks like Shirley and Mikumo are about the same height. Obviously, Min-Mei and Frey are also more or less about the same height, but also shorter. With that also said, you can see the major difference between Min-Mei being my first and Mikumo being my most recent. You can see the amount of time it's taken to me actually really improve my skills and whatnot, because I got significantly better over time, and I thought Shirley came out really good, and she did. But of course, Mikumo being my fourth, she's probably like the most pristine one I've built yet. With that said, if I had the option to rebuild one of these figures, it would obviously be Minmay first, then Freya, because again, these were my first two, and now I got the art down to more or less a T with Shirley and Mikumo. That I want to rebuild these two and make them properly pristine and whatnot. Especially considering these two here, they do have some damage from just normal wear and tear and whatnot. Because again, first and second generations compared to third and fourth, which are using more newer, more better build techniques and more understanding of how to properly fold the paper, use hot glue, and all the other little stuff and whatnot. Especially considering with Minmay here, for instance, you can see I have a little wooden dowels or popsicle sticks right there to make sure her feet don't collapse. When like for Freya, Shirley, and Mikumo here, their feet are fully clean and whatnot. And when it comes to reinforcing the legs and whatnot, I did a lot of work on her feet or shoes and whatnot, so I don't see her collapsing anytime soon. I fear not Freya, Mikumo collapsing, and of course Freya collapsing also. Shirley should be fine because I did reinforce her legs relatively good, but these two I am worried that they may eventually collapse. Granted, they've lasted for about 5 to 4 years respectively. I forget how old they actually are. I know they're old, so they're still holding, which is impressive, but I don't know how much longer their frames will hold. But then again, they've been in my closet for years and they don't really get moved. So this is the first time they've been moved out of the closet in, well, years, because when I'm done building these things, I take them to my conventions and then I just put them back in the closet for storage because, well, I put time, effort, and a lot of love into these things, and I don't want them to just get destroyed by just accidental movements and whatnot. Hence why I store them in my closet. With that said, I am going to be foregoing my two Hololive girls, and that also includes Gara there. I just got to rebuild her tail. And eventually, I'll also have to be getting rid of Cortana. Now, the reason why I'm keeping Cortana is because, well, I am a Halo fan, and I very much prefer the Halo 4 version of Cortana. Though, unfortunately, this version of Halo 4 Cortana, yeah, I never really liked how the eyes on hers came out. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it. But the only reason why I keep her is because, well, life-size Cortana is life-size Cortana, even though the eyes are bug-eyed and her face just doesn't look right. But the only reason why I haven't gotten rid of her yet is because, well, it's a character I actually like. But with that said, I will have to get rid of her because my next character is going to be another Macross character. I don't know which one yet, but I have a few ideas. Now, I'm not even going to try and pronounce her name because I have no idea how to properly pronounce it. But I'm thinking maybe the my version of her. Reason being is because when it comes to her dress, it's really not that long and it's a little more easily manageable. And plus, I do like the my version of her surprisingly a lot. I don't know why, I just like it. So I have I'm mulling over building her, but there's possibly one more that I want to, well, I'm going to build them all theoretically, but I want to figure out which one I want to build next. So option one is her. The other one is Yami Reina. I like short girls, short hair, tomboy girls like her. And when it comes to her dress, though, as you can see, there's a bunch of right here. So getting that to play nice is going to be annoying because, well, if I have too much mass, the paper will actually start folding in on itself, increasing in areas that just won't look right. So she might unfortunately be the one after I build, and that's just because of, again, this big long piece right here. I do eventually plan on building all the MIs, but for right now, I'm just mulling over these two, which one I want to build next. With that also said, it won't be for at least another month or two because I just spent 2 months putting Yami Mikumo back together completely, and I'm kind of tired. I now want to bring up Mikumo again. So, like I mentioned earlier, when they initially had Yumi version of her, the wing was attached to the head. Why they had it attached to her head instead of her back like they do now is beyond me, but like I mentioned before, I'm very happy I waited 2 years to finish her off because, like I said, they moved the wing from her head to the back. And I first noticed that when her voice actor or singer, I don't know which is which, but well, I know she's a singer. I don't know if she's also the voiceless for her, but either way, she posted this image on her Twitter, and I was like, oh, they moved the wing from the head to the back where it should have been. And I think that's probably what really irked me on to finally get her finished. Well, or at least one of the reasons that irked me on to finally get Yami Mikumo finished, because I won't have to worry about the wing being attached to the head. I just now got to figure out a way to attach it to the body. And of course, I figured out a way to do that. So the other issue I had to do was figure out the ponytail. So when it came to getting the ponytail figured out, I knew I had to do something in Blender, but I didn't know what at the time. Now I joined a Facebook group that's dedicated to Blender and whatnot with like 50 something odd thousand people. Someone over there told me to use the Boolean tool. At the time I didn't know how to use it. He told me how I need to do it, told me how I need to select the individual mesh, told me how to get the Boolean set up and whatnot. And I set it up to where the Boolean is inside the head for Mikumo, hence the big old crater and whatnot. That way, so I can just have a rare earth magnet, like I mentioned earlier, somewhere over there, correspond with a rare earth magnet somewhere in here. And of course, it just locks in place. And I gotta do a little bit of a twist. And again, the ponytail is removable. The reason why I had the ponytail removable is, again, so I can easily transport them and whatnot, and also reduce the mass for storage and whatnot. Hence, of course, also why I had the wings be removable too, because, well, I need to make enough room to store all 4 of my current Macross characters and at least 1 more. I'd like to be able to stick 5 in there, but unfortunately, or not 5, but 6 in there. But I think only 5 is like the max I can fit in my closet, unfortunately. With that said, I'm actually very impressed. I managed to get 4 Macross characters built, and they all fit in my closet. It's possible I can figure out another solution, but that may require me to get rid of my Mass Effect 3 Jack. And seeing how that was my first life-size model, and I very much like Jack, I'm not willing to do that. That's one of the figures I built that I'm not getting rid of, unless I somehow rebuild her. But that ain't going to happen because that took over 6 months to build, and I'm not going through that again. I guess the next part of the video, or the last part of this video, will be just me disassembling her and whatnot. So, like I mentioned before, ponytail pops off. Her wings pop off. Oh yeah, and I also added a little bit of reinforcement right here where you can see a paper overlap, because I was actually having paper just literally break away because of the weight of the wings. Now the wings are fairly hollow with a few reinforcement bits, but even though I try to make these wings as light as possible, the paper still likes to rip and whatnot. But yeah, generally speaking, the wings are relatively okay. They're just big and bulky. So when it comes to the rest of the body, these little guys are just friction fitted. I have little outlines right here that just go like this, and I just more or less line them up in a way to where it can just hide the little outlines while still giving the full proper look. And of course, I also have them friction fitted for when I'm at my conventions and someone bumps into them, they just fall right off instead of just ripping the paper off and whatnot. And when it comes to the rest of it, next needs to be this little guy right here. So let's see how I'm going to do this. Ugly foot. So I just pull from here and I just twist. I gotta figure out how to do this without shearing these guys off, because I also have to worry about the work around the magnets. I do something like that, and I just do a little bit of twist. This, of course, is just a friction fit. It's fairly tight, but not too tight. And of course, rare earth magnet there, and a bunch of reinforcements and hot glue to maintain its state and whatnot. And it's actually surprisingly strong enough to do its job. And of course, when it comes to pulling the rest of Mikumo apart, let me grab a button, let me do that. And then I just Trying to do this without destroying her is a little difficult. I think I can pull her from this. There we go. Good night. Good grief. So you can see the internal superstructure and whatnot. There's a few magnets dotted throughout to maintain the lock and whatnot. And actually thinking how she came apart, I didn't really need to have the hands be removable, but I didn't know it was actually going to not collide with each other and whatnot. So with that said, put her back together. Again, the magnets lock with the magnets on the base and whatnot. Then I just take this. I have a little alignment piece right there that corresponds right there. So I just jam that in there. And I just do twisting motions, and eventually it'll just let me take. And of course, then the magnets will align to the body and whatnot. Once that's done, then I take this, go like that, twist it a little bit, take the wing. Again, normally I'll do this two-handed, but since I'm recording, gotta figure out that, still trying to learn that twist I gotta put this wing at for it to mount properly. Still not wanting to do it. There it goes. Wing goes like that. Wing's now attached. Then I take these two little guys, figure out which one goes to where. Line the little etches. That one more or less goes there. This one goes here. And then I can just, let's see, just do this. Ooh, actually, I can remove that former. That former isn't needed anymore. That's been there for 2 years. And just like that, she's back together again. So next step for me to really do, and that's going to be in a separate video, is figure out some type of RC thing to lug around my conventions. I already have one method, but I need to rebuild its body, so I'm going to be using some foam board from Walmart. But when it comes to Mikumo herself, that's pretty much the build log for her, or the done video, because, well, she's finally done. Just took me 2 years to build. So next step for me to do is figure out what Yami character I want to build next. Again, like I said, I'm planning on building all the Yamis, so I got 4 more to do, and that even includes Freya. So I will be getting an option to rebuild Freya, though I'll be building the Yami variant. Hopefully by that time I'll also have the original Freya with me. Who knows, I might even have rebuilt Minmay, hopefully with a different outfit also on top of that. But for now, I'm just going to rest, because again, she took over 2 years to build, and I'm tired.